Here's a quick one, but an important one. You'll notice my scene view is huge right now, and that's because we're going to talk about navigating the scene view quickly and efficiently. So here's the deal. Before we do this, I'm going to need to create a cube. So I'm going to choose the Create menu, 3D Object, Cube. The only point of this cube is just as a point of reference, so when I'm spinning around my scene, I can kind of see where I'm going in relation to this cube. So now that my cube is there, notice that if I were to move my mouse around, it's purely a selection tool. It's not moving my camera at all. It's not moving my perspective. For instance, if I wanted to see the other side of this cube, I'd have to rotate it around, and that's no good. Sometimes I actually want the world to stay in place, and I'll move myself to go and grab a new perspective. So let's try this. If we hold the Alt or Option key, again, this is on Mac, and I'm using a trackpad, so keep that in mind. This is the most simplified version of navigating a scene. It'll work across all browsers. Not operating systems and all input devices, whether you're using multi-touch or whatever middle mouse click, you might have some more options that I don't have, but this should work across the board, these techniques that I'm going to go over. So first things first, Alt or Option converts my cursor into an eyeball. With the eyeball, I can now click and drag, and I'm going to rotate around the center point. So that's pretty useful. But notice, what if I want to get over here on the other side of this camera? Well, I wouldn't be able to do that because my center point is the cube. And I just can't move myself over there. So that's when we get the pan tool. The pan tool was when I click the Option key and the Command key at the same time. You'll notice my cursor has just changed to a little glove, a little hand, where I can click and drag, and look at that, and I can actually change the pivot point. Now if I let go of Command and just go with the eyeball, right, I'm only holding Alt and Option right now, it's the same key, and click and drag, I'm now rotating around the camera instead of the cube, roughly. It's not perfect, it's just based on me dragging my camera over there. But I can drag it anywhere, right? If I'm holding Command and Option, I can drag and have my pivot point be out here in the middle of nowhere. So it's totally up to me. That makes me very flexible. Now, the last way that you can move your camera using the click and the Option keys is by holding Option and Control. Then my mouse, you'll notice the cursor changes into a magnifying glass. So with Alt and Control selected, I can click and drag, and as you probably guess, I zoom in and out from that center point, from that pivot point, whatever it is. Now, lots of times in working in your scene, if it's a particularly big scene or if you're just beginning and you're getting a little confused, you may end up in a situation like this where you feel upside down, you're not really sure where the world is, and you're kind of looking for my stuff, right? I was like, where's all my scene? Where's my stuff? In those cases, you can actually just use your mouse, go up to the hierarchy window over on the left, and double click on an object that you'd like to zoom into. At this point, it helped me find my cube. That's perfect. If I had to click the main camera, double click, directional light, it'll always just zoom me and put my new pivot point right where that object is. So that's super helpful. Two other quick ways to navigate the scene really fast I'm going to go over. One is with the arrow keys. I've also seen this done with WASD, but for me I have it set to arrow keys right now, and that'll help me fly around the scene. I actually don't use this a whole ton, but I do have a lot of students who do, and it's actually not, it is pretty effective depending on just what your comfort level is. So arrow keys, that'll move you around your scene. And then lastly, if you look up here, we actually have this nice little sort of compass, this little map of our X, Y, and Z axes. Not only is this a great reference while you're working, but if I were to click on, say, the positive Z axis, I'll jump to that axis. My viewing camera will actually swing over that way. The reason that this is cool is because then I can click on this front word right here, right where it says front, and there's this little perspective icon. If I click to that, it'll switch to orthographic. And what you'll notice, the differences there, is that this cube now has no perspective. In fact, the whole scene loses its perspective. And I can do a pretty quick, if I just move this over a little bit, I can see that these grid units you're seeing, this kind of faded out gray grid, is actually 1 unit by 1 unit. That would have been pretty hard to see if not for orthographic mode. Here we go. Let me click on Z again real quick so you can see that. There you go, perfect. And it's just about perfect. Nice. Now, sometimes you might actually end up in a view that looks something like this. The grid looks kind of funny. It almost makes you motion sick to use it a little bit. Like, oh, like it's not really going how your brain expects it to react. What's probably happened is you're in isographic mode, right? Over here on the right-hand side, you see where it says ISO underneath? ISO is basically just orthographic mode, and you're still in that mode, but you're kind of in a free-floating perspective cam now. And it really only works for like RTS games like The Sims or Roller Coaster Tycoon or Tower Defense, different games where you kind of build these cities and stuff like that. but when you're actually rotating around freely, it can be really disorienting. So if it's the style of your game, go for it, but I recommend switching this from ISO back to perspective, and that'll make everything feel a lot more natural again. It'll kind of look the way that things look in the real world. So again, in conclusion, we're either moving with the mouse and the option key, option for rotate, option command for pan, option control for zoom. We're moving with the arrow keys, or we're moving with the little compass up here and switching between orthographic and perspective to suit our needs. Other than that, have fun with it. You should be able to navigate anywhere you need to in Unity now.